Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called Two Brothers of the Shang Family. In Zhuxian, there was a family with the surname Shang. The Shang family had two brothers who, after coming of age, lived separately. The elder Shang was well off, while the younger Shang lived in poverty. Their homes were separated by just a wall. During the Kangxi era, a great famine struck the Zhuxian area, and the younger Shang's family became so destitute that they could hardly find anything to eat. One day, as noon approached, there was still no food cooking in the younger Shang's house. The couple, weakened by hunger, paced around helplessly. The wife urged the younger Shang to ask his elder brother for food, but he replied, "It's useless. If my brother had any pity for our hardship, he would have helped us long ago." Nevertheless, his wife insisted, so the younger Shang sent their son instead. Soon after, the son returned empty-handed. The younger Shang said to his wife, "I told you, didn't I? You see, that's exactly what happened." The wife asked the son in detail what his uncle had said. The boy answered. Uncle hesitated, but kept looking at Auntie. Then Auntie said, "The two brothers have already split the family. Each has their own life to live, and no one can help the other." Upon hearing this, the younger Shang and his wife remained silent and had no choice but to trade their old, broken furniture for some chaff to eat. In the village, there were 3 or 4 local thugs who, seeing that the elder Shang's family was wealthy, decided to sneak into their courtyard at night. The elder Shang and his wife were startled from their sleep and began banging on pots and shouting for help. But none of their jealous neighbors came to their aid. Desperate, the couple turned to the younger Shang for help. Hearing his sister-in-law's cries, the younger Shang wanted to rush over to help, but his wife stopped him and loudly called back to her. The brothers have already split the family. Each must face their own fate, whether good or bad, and no one can help the other. Before long, the robbers broke into the elder Shang's house, tied up the couple, and tortured them with burning irons. Their screams of despair echoed through the night. Unable to bear it any longer, the younger Shang said to his wife, "Though my brother and his wife have been heartless, I cannot stand by and watch them die." He then led his son over the wall and shouted loudly for help. The younger Shang and his son were both strong and brave, and the local thugs had always feared them. Worried that more people might come to help, the robbers fled. The younger Shang checked on his brother and sister-in-law, finding their legs severely burned, and helped them onto the bed. He also called back the maids and servants, and then returned to his own home. This time, although the elder Shang was injured, none of his property was lost. He said to his wife, "The reason we still have our wealth is all thanks to my brother's help. We should give some of it to him and his son." However, his wife replied, "If you had a good brother, you wouldn't have suffered like this in the first place." Hearing this, the elder Shang said nothing further. Later on, the younger Shang's family ran out of food again. He thought for sure this time his elder brother would help him, but after waiting for a long time, there was still no sign of his brother bringing any money or grain. The younger Shang's wife, unable to wait any longer, sent their son to borrow food from the elder Shang again, but the boy only returned with 1 bag of millet. The younger Shang's wife was dissatisfied with the small amount and angrily told her son to return it, but the younger Shang stopped her. 2 months passed, and the younger Shang's family was once again at the brink of starvation. He said to his wife, "We have no way to make a living here. Why don't we sell our house to my brother? He cares about me and won't bear to see us leave. Perhaps he won't even take the house deed and will help us out. And even if he does take it, we could still get around 10 taels of silver, which would be enough to survive." His wife agreed that it was a reasonable plan, so they sent their son to bring the house deed to the elder Shang. The elder Shang told his wife about the matter and said, "Even though my brother is poor, he's still my own flesh and blood. If he leaves, we won't have anyone to help us. We should return the deed to him and give him some money as well." But the elder Shang's wife scoffed. "That's nonsense. He's only pretending he wants to leave to threaten us. If we follow your plan, we'll fall right into his trap. There are plenty of people without brothers. Do they all die because of it? We can build our walls higher and won't have to worry about thieves anymore. Let's just buy his house and let them go elsewhere. That way, we can tear down the wall, expand our property, and make the courtyard twice as big." The couple made their decision, so they had the younger Shang sign the deed and gave him the money, forcing his family to move away. The younger Shang and his family then relocated to a nearby village. The thugs in the village heard that the younger Shang had moved away and once again broke into the elder Shang's home. They tied him up, beat him severely, and used various tortures. The outcome was naturally tragic. In order to save their lives, the elder Shang and his wife had to hand over all their money. Before the robbers left, they opened the elder Shang's grain store and shouted for the poor villagers to take whatever they wanted. In an instant, all the grain was taken by the surrounding people. The next day, when the younger Shang heard about what had happened, he rushed over and found his brother already in a daze, unable to speak. The elder Shang opened his eyes to look at his brother, then scratched the bed mat a few times before passing away. The younger Shang, furious, went to the county office to file a lawsuit, but the leader of the bandits had already fled and could not be found. There were over 100 poor villagers who had taken the grain, and since there were so many of them, the authorities could do nothing. At that time, the elder Shang's son was only 5 years old, but now that the family was impoverished, the boy often ran to his uncle's house, staying there for several days without wanting to go back. Whenever the younger Shang tried to send him home, the boy would cry uncontrollably. The younger Shang's wife didn't show the child any kindness, but the younger Shang said to her, "His father may have been neglectful of brotherly affection, but what fault does the child have?" With that, the younger Shang bought a few steamed buns and personally took his nephew back home. A few days later, the younger Shang, without telling his wife, secretly carried a bag of rice to his sister-in-law, urging her to raise her son with peace of mind. Over time, this became a regular occurrence. A few years later, the elder Shang's wife sold their land and house, obtaining enough money to support herself. Only then did the younger Shang stop bringing her food. Later, in a year of famine, it became common to see people dying of starvation on the roads. The population of the younger Shang's family had also increased, leaving them unable to care for others. At this time, the elder Shang's son was 15 years old. He was weak and unable to do much work, so the younger Shang let him take a basket and accompany his cousin to sell sesame pancakes. One night, the younger Shang dreamed that his brother had come to him. With a mournful expression, the elder Shang said, "I mistakenly listened to your sister-in-law's words, which caused me to violate the bond between us brothers. Fortunately, you have not held a grudge against me, and I truly feel ashamed. The old house that my wife sold is still vacant. You should hurry and rent it to live in. Under the grass behind that house, I hid some money that you can dig up to change your circumstances. My son should come and live with you. I truly despise my wife, so please do not concern yourself with her." After waking up, the younger Shang found it strange but still followed the dream and paid a high price to rent back his brother's old house from the owner. Once the family moved into the old house, they indeed dug out 500 taels of silver from behind it. From that point on, they no longer allowed their son and nephew to sell pancakes. Instead, they provided funds for the two cousins to open a small shop on the street. The nephew was very smart, skilled in bookkeeping, and was honest and cautious. He would inform his uncle about any transactions, even if it was just a single coin, which made the younger Shang appreciate him even more. One day, the nephew tearfully asked his uncle for some rice for his mother, but the younger Shang's wife was unwilling to give any. Seeing his nephew's filial piety, the younger Shang decided to give his sister-in-law some money and grain on a monthly basis. After a few years, the younger Shang's family had escaped poverty and become prosperous. Later, when the elder Shang's wife passed away, the younger Shang grew old and decided to live separately from his nephew, gifting him half of his wealth. At the end of the story, the author added this commentary. I have heard that although the elder Shang was reluctant to give away a single coin, he also did not readily accept money from others, which shows that he was a person of integrity. However, his blind obedience to his wife made him indecisive and indifferent to his own brother, which ultimately led to his miserly death. Alas, what is so surprising about that? The younger Shang started off poor but eventually became wealthy. Why did he achieve such a result? Perhaps it was simply because he did not blindly follow his wife's wishes. It is evident that a person's character sometimes depends not on what they think but on what they do. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tale. Two brothers of the Shang family. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.